everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Far From Home, a talk with a friend abroad. Our friend and guest this week is Lina. Lina is from Colombia, but living in the Netherlands. And I'm going to start straight away with the first question. It is actually how you ended up, welcome, first of all, and then how you ended up in the Netherlands. Can you tell us your story?
Yes, thank you, Rihanna, so much for the introduction and for the opportunity. And hi, everybody. I lived in the Netherlands already for 6 years, and we came with my partner together because he found a job opportunity here. We were living in Colombia, and he's from the US. So a third culture in the mix. But it was basically job opportunity and also the desire to travel, to see the world, to live in Italy, and just the adventure.
Good. And how was it at the beginning? Did you have any cultural shock? Did he have any cultural shock there from you from two different cultures and to a third culture that was the Netherlands?
Yes, of course. It was well, I think you can expect the culture shock, but indeed every person or every situation is different. For me, it was very quick that I felt this the honeymoon, like everything is new, everything's exciting, you want to discover, but then it also becomes a bit of a challenge, right? You're so confused, you are trying to explore, but sometimes you don't understand it so much. So for me, the curve was quite interesting, I should say. For my partner, not so much. I feel he felt a bit more identified with the Northern European culture. Mm-hmm. And but again, each person goes through the phases. For me, it was very interesting. First of all, the language. No clue at all of any word or anything related to understanding and meanings, but in the Netherlands most people speak English. But also how for instance, in public spaces, you don't smile to strangers or strangers don't smile back to you. And this is something that in Colombia it's quite common, you just have like a casual smile in your face and people answer back. So I think that was one of the first aspects that surprised me a lot. Like, and why does everybody look at me like, why is this lady smiling at me? But then you also understand that it's just different and it's part of the experience. The weather, of course, it's completely different.
Where are you from in Colombia? Where are you from in Colombia? I don't
from Bogota,
okay.
From the capital. So it's a city that has quite some altitude, and weather is not great in Bogota, actually. Most people think all Colombia is tropical weather, so much, but it's like autumn, so to say. And in the Netherlands, it's quite chilly all year long, a lot of rain and wind. So we always thought, the Netherlands is so cute. It has a lot of windmills. But then when we were here, it's like, of course they have windmills.
Yes, and Rotterdam especially.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's interesting. I remember my time in the Netherlands. I was in Utrecht for my PhD. And one of the things, I had experienced the same in the US, but every time for an Italian is a kind of a challenge. That is that they don't actually go out for lunch together, the colleagues. They prefer to maybe have a sandwich on the go or just have a sandwich in front of their laptop, also because like it's cold outside to go out for a walk and then stay in a place for having lunch and come back. And so I was like, okay, I have to like eat by myself. And that was something that for an Italian is always a challenge, this having like have to eat by yourself without having this like human contact with your colleagues during the lunch break, so the coffee break.
For sure, that's actually you bring me to also another good memory and differences. In the Netherlands, indeed, the lunch is a sandwich and very basic sandwich. And I come from a culture that we have a warm, big lunch, like boost your energy midday. You can argue if it actually does. But then when we work in the canteen, most of our Dutch colleagues, they just have their lunches and the internationals, we have these very elaborated meals. We always look across each other like, enjoy, you know.
Yeah, enjoy.
Each person has its preferences. And when I came, I was just exploring the city, you know, and we lived in a smaller town. And I kept meaning to find like a lunchroom or a place that would serve this kind of warm meal. And that didn't exist. It was all about the toasties or like quick things. And I was like, but how don't you have
I want to eat properly.
a lunchroom? Yeah. So that was also a main difference. Like, oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed it is. So, and then like COVID came, and what were the challenges for you, like personally, professionally? You're actually also like far from home, really far compared to others that are like in at least the same continent. So, and how was that also in the Netherlands?
Well, I think personally, you go through this phase of it's not a big deal. Then it's too far. Then okay, it's in Europe, but it's still not here. And then all of a sudden, it starts to become a bit more real. And that was a first challenge for me, like to realize, there is something going on. It's not just a simple flu or a light disease. So that first realization, and also just what to expect, you know, because again, we're relatively young and healthy, so you also cannot see the impact, or don't have a frame or an example to think of, oh, this is what happens, or this is what next steps. So for us, it was like a lot of uncertainty. And I think uncertainty also generates anxiety, but also the fear of back home, you know, because here you see your reality and you're with your partner, but your friends and family are in a different reality and you just don't know how it's going there. So in that sense, I was very happy to see that my country went into lockdown relatively quickly. And, you know, there is always this controversy. Should you go to lockdown? At which stage? Yes or no? And I think only time will tell. But in that sense, it was also interesting to see how we were all doing pretty much the same or affected by the same thing. So that was also something good, like, oh, it's not only us, you know, it's other people are going through these challenges too. Yeah. So professionally, yeah, just something absolutely new. And I guess also professionally, just switching to work from home. It was really difficult for me at the beginning because I'm very social at my work. You know, I interact with a lot of people, different topics, and I enjoy it. Just it gives me energy. Yeah. And right now, when working from home, it was the new tools, the new process, the new way, but also you start into crisis mode, right? So then there are things that have a lot of priority. There are other things that don't have that much priority. And I found myself in this lower priority sometimes. So my meetings got rescheduled or canceled, or I was pending on other people's input to keep going on my progress. And I saw that, yeah, there's definitely something going on. But I also took that as an opportunity to focus on my tasks, on the things that I could personally improve. So for instance, I learned a lot about our new intranet and how to set up articles, libraries, and stuff like that. So also during my work, it was a time for exploration. And across cultures, it was just seeing like how relaxed, if you could say, Dutch society was facing this pandemic, because it's not like the government said everybody needs to be on lockdown or it's mandatory. And, you know, there is a certain of individual freedom, hoping that the community is preserved out of your individual choice. But of course, I come from a different mindset, community first, and we preserve the community as such, not so much just you as an individual, but the team and the group. So for me, that was a bit difficult to understand, even if you know that you have these differences, right?
Yes.
So when you live them and when everything is just so new, I kept wondering, and I still wonder, like, are we doing the right thing here? I see a lot of people in the streets. I see things going back to normal, and you always wonder, right?
Yeah, they're right, the other are right. Who is right, and what we should do? Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. And I think that also, like, when you live in another country, and even if you are aware of the cultural differences, when you see them, let's say, at work, is also a more reflection about you and your values and your culture and what you believe and what is important for you and what is not, and you discover even more about yourself. Yeah, I'm also, let's say, more collectivistic than individualistic. Now I live in a more individualistic country, but still I have this idea of like community first. And uncertainty is also an interesting dimension. I think that we really have seen the uncertainty in all the different countries, and the reaction to uncertainty also based on something that was extremely cultural. So we cannot deal with uncertainty, so total lockdown since the beginning. We are fine with uncertainty, so no lockdown or a really light lockdown. Was really interesting, this uncertainty, even because it was a global issue, but we're really seeing like different reactions and different strategies that the countries put in place for different reasons. Some reasons were cultural, other was maybe economic or like historical, but there was something that was definitely cultural in the reaction.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then it's also interesting what you mentioned, and I also in other talk this was an interesting aspect, because also was a time for learning maybe something new, something different, or learning something also in your own industry, in your own job, but also maybe to be ready for the future, maybe for a big change, because now we are already in an unstable job market. We don't know which sector, which company, let's say, they will survive. For sure that they will have to adapt, something will change. And so it was also like I think many of us, maybe I think even more people that were already living abroad, so like maybe more ready to change, they will also use this time for like learning something new, investing in themselves, new skills, maybe a new language. And that was, I think, also a resource. That is actually the last part of our the third part of our talk, not the last. So what resources did you find, or if you have to think now, or that was useful actually during the time of like the pandemic or the lockdown, even if there was not a strict lockdown?
Sure, I can think of, let's say, on a personal basis, WhatsApp and WhatsApp video calls with my friends and family. Before, for some reason, I used to do just the normal call.
Yeah.
But now we just do everyday video call, right? To gain that certainty, or being a bit more close to each other. So that was my first resource. Second, I also took this time to explore my own self and to have inspiration from people who work in the cultural field like yourself. So LinkedIn has been an amazing tool to, just check out someone and their experience and reach out. Just like, hey, I'm interested in talking about your experience. Would you be open for a virtual coffee? So the virtual coffee and the LinkedIn has been a great experience and great tool to meet people, and to also see, again, people all over are going through the same thing. And I think it's extremely valuable. Another resource is this book, The Power of Now, by Eckhart Tolle. So I kept this book for years. I even brought it from Colombia, and I don't know, for some reason I didn't read it. And I was like, this is probably the right time to read that. And I'm really glad I did. It's a fantastic book. It gives you a lot of insight, and it gives you also a lot of small tips, not impossible things that you need to do to change your mindset, to be more present. Just a few things that I've been able to incorporate. But also in a physical way, I started to do exercise and online videos, like sports training, with a lady that is called Rebecca Luis. So I really like that the videos are 30 minutes. So it's doable for, yeah, because sometimes I would like to do more, but just to keep it structured. Professionally, I started to also explore this agile mindset, and the fact that, okay, just focus and work in a small batch and work collaboratively. So I did a few courses in Coursera about it, but I also took the Scrum Master certification. And that also helped me to see, well, that it's another skill, it's another ability that you can apply at your work. You can also apply daily. So I'm doing my own daily stand-up, and it consists of reflecting on what you achieved yesterday, what you want to do today, and what are your obstacles or challenges. And of course, to be aware of them, and also to have like a goal. And you work on very small pieces towards that goal. And finally, I would say in Rotterdam, we have a networking community for entrepreneurship and startups. It's called Venture Cafe. And Venture Cafe was already amazing before Corona times. You would go there, do networking, learn a few things, attend to breakout sessions. But it was even more amazing that they converted it into the virtual scenarios. And it's great. I mean, you still meet a lot of people, you learn. You don't get the free drink, but you can do it for yourself. So I've been able to connect with still a lot of people, get inspired by the city. And I guess also to some extent just exploring the city as a resource. Or before, I just went out on a walk just to explore and to be outside and to have fresh air. But then you start to see the city from another view, and you start to notice a few things that are different. So the city itself was a resource. And finally, also just a meditation challenge, 21 days challenges with Deepak Chopra. And it's about abundancy. Mm-hmm. So you meditate also like 20-30 minutes a day with this mindset of abundancy, not just on money, but also on happiness, positive feelings, dreams, ideas. And that has been really amazing for me. I've been able to keep a really good energized attitude. So I think those would be the resources.
Wow, I think there were like a lot of resources. But I think that, and this is also like the point of this talk, is also be able to share resources, and we can find resources in many different ways, and sometimes they're also unexpected, like a book, and maybe a book that you have there like for years, and then this is also the, let's say, the right time, and so you start reading and you get inspiration. And then following a routine also, even if it is like only 30 minutes exercise. But I think for most of us, as maybe before, we were always like on the go and like super busy. There was not the like healthy routine also, like to give like time, and like really you deserve your time, and the time needs to be like quality time for like taking care of yourself. Otherwise we are always like doing things for others or doing like our job, but then there's no time for ourselves and for also to get more like clarity. And I think the exercise that you are doing is like amazing, like reflecting every day is, and again, you have to like desert time to that, like set the time. But then I think it's a great exercise because it keep you like going and improving every day. And it's good.
Yeah. Yeah, power of habits is very important. I agree.
Yeah, and also what you mentioned about like Ventures Cafe, I think like they are saying this, and I think it's true. It's true for companies, it's true for network, for organization, be like social organization or NGOs. This time was a time also to already the organization that they were able to adapt to the new environment. They can really survive, and maybe they have also already found like a new way of doing things. I'm part of an organization that before we were meeting offline, like weekly in the morning. Then now everything is online, and they're thinking about the future that probably we will have a mix of both. So you will be able to connect online even if you are abroad, and so you still keep like meeting, and we will meeting again in person, because of course there is a value in meeting in person. It's a free drink.
Yeah.
For us was a breakfast, but it's also we and this is also cultural. So you're coming from Colombia and coming from Italy, we build trust and building relationship and spending time together. But then being able to adapt and maintain this two way of online and offline can really connect you also to the world, even like keeping your local network or your local meeting. And this is really one idea that I had also when I started global mindset development, was this idea of the glocal. So being active at the local level, but with a global mindset, a global vision. And I think technology now is really helping us to doing this. So to be, and we will be even more local, because maybe at the beginning we will be forced to, we cannot travel as before. And so you are discovering Rotterdam, people are discovering also some like nice villages in Italy, but then we are connected with the world, and it's easy, and we can see each other every day. More times per day. And so I think it's great if an organization was able to embrace the change. That is really great.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't agree more with everything you've mentioned. I think adapting, well, it's as simple as you don't have any other option
Yeah.
for the moment. So you might as well enjoy it and learn from it. And I really value everything you mentioned about being local and your initiatives, because sometimes, or at least in my experience, just another small anecdote. When we came here, it was also the idea of, oh, you can travel to Europe so easily as it is, and Netherlands is very well connected with everywhere, but that we didn't really explore the Netherlands that much. And during this lockdown, we thought, hey, why don't we go to the forest and just explore Dutch nature? And we're still in quarantine, so we're going to be in a small cabin in the middle of nowhere, still in quarantine. And I think that was one of the most beautiful nature experiences I've had. It was, really connecting with local people, with the local cuisine, but also nature. So yeah, really good remark.
Yes, I think that is. I remember also when I speak with someone years ago about Brussels, and they were like, yeah, the best thing in Brussels is that you can easily go all around Europe. And I was like, yeah, but what about Brussels? So it's a nice city or not? It's nice to live there or not? Because I want to stay in a city and also like enjoy living there, not only like be able to travel to other places. Otherwise, maybe it's better to live in other places. It is not good there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's interesting. Good. We're almost at the end of our talk. Now there is a message in your language to your country or to the countries where you want to send your message.
Yes, no, that's actually, I was looking forward to it.
Cool.
In Spanish. Bueno, pues a toda la gente en Colombia, mi familia, mis amigos, primero que todo les mando un abrazo y un saludo muy especial, deseando que se encuentren bien en medio de ya el tiempo que ha transcurrido, estar en cuarentena desde tanto tiempo. Me parece que en medio de todo lo hemos manejado muy bien, estoy muy contenta. Me parece que como en este tema de conexión global, estamos en una buena posición. Quisiera, sí, reforzar la importancia de seguir tomando las medidas, de seguir teniendo la conciencia de que esta es una nueva dinámica, pero en medio de todo, bueno, Colombia es un país muy bonito, también hay muchas cosas por hacer, por explorar, por conectar con con la gente. Estaba muy feliz de conectar con muchos amigos y estar más pendiente de mi familia también. Así que, bueno, no, todos los mejores deseos, toda la mejor energía, que la economía se recupere, que podamos volver a la normalidad, pero que estemos en armonía. Eso me parece muy importante. Un abrazo muy grande.
Bueno, gracias.
Muy bien.
Thank you, Lina. Thank you very much. Take care. Have a nice weekend. And thank you again, Lina, for sharing your story and your experience with us.
Thank you, Viviana. This is a great initiative. And thank you, everybody, for watching.
Bye-bye.